you are listening to the Footy Mailbag Podcast with Damo and Clarky.
Hello and welcome to the Footy Mailbag. My name is Damo and Clarky is back. Hello, Clarky. This is a podcast. It's about Supercoach. It's been a while. Just thought I'd refresh your mind.
I literally had you on my other podcast this week, and just like the Western Bulldogs' favorite son, Rory Lobb, the second you get rid of the guy who's better than me, I'm back, baby. Thanks, Tom, for filling in.
This week's guest does content on YouTube for the Centre Bounce and FanCast. He joined us earlier in the year, and he was so good we invited him back. It's Joe.
G'day, Damo. G'day, Clarky. Really happy to be back. As soon as I got the message, yes, aye, Captain. I had a lot of fun last time. I think we definitely took the show off the beaten track a little bit, Clarky and I last time. And look,
was that the episode we said that Port bully themselves?
Yeah, and
there was also a gnome.
There was a gnome, a garden gnome at the start, and we called Tex Walker a racist. And
still true.
It's still true, exactly. So nothing has changed. We still love gnomes, and we still are racist. So thanks for having me back.
I love Joe.
I love you all.
Joe, tell us, how's your season going? We're sort of heading towards big crunch, big time games. How are you looking coming into the end of the season?
Mate, big crunch time, and Essendon fans don't go well. Is the case for my Supercoach team at the moment. Hasn't been a great season. Still ranked 10,600 for the year. Managed to climb up during the buys. It was a long haul to get back from a really far back. I think I was in the 80,000s at the start of the season. Had a really slow start.
Nice.
Sort of been sort of slowly climbing my way back. Scored 22.54 last week, which isn't the best, not the worst either. So it just sums up the season, really. Happy to have a full premium team. We finished it off with Jai Simkin last week, and he's in true to the rest of my team. He finished it perfectly.
Look, I think I had the exact same experience with Charlie Curnow, where I was like, yes, that's one fine looking Supercoach team. Why doesn't mine look like that? Because I only had, I don't know about you, I had 3 players, I think, in total score over 100 in an entire team of, I'm at least like 80% good quality primo. And I scored a measly 2,000. So it sounds like you're really pushing yourself back up there. 10K is not bad.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with it, considering where I thought I was going to end up at the start of the season, considering the slow start. But now, all in all, pretty happy with the quality of the team. Just need a few of these plonkers to pull the finger out and really start working away, like Matt Rowell, for example. He's definitely been spudding it up in recent times.
Well, so I'll ask you both this. So for listeners who might be thinking, hey, look, I started this season really badly. Is there ever hope? While we're actively in the season and it's still fresh in our minds, what do you think are the things that kind of got you both? Like, Damo, I know you've had a pretty successful year all year. I would say, like, in the grand scheme of things, a lot of people would love to be in your position. 2 of those people are in this room right now. But I definitely, Joe, I had a similar start to you, where I started quite slowly, and I've built myself back up to that, 20 to 15K kind of, I can push a little bit higher if things go my way kind of position. What do you think are the key pieces of advice people who are still trying to climb that need to finish off their season and to get through and push themselves back into contention?
If you don't mind me coming in here, the biggest thing that has paid dividends for me this year is I made a plan at the beginning of the season. I was like, I'm going to plan my trades 2 weeks out from when I need to do them. And I wasn't going to worry about where I was. I was just going to allow the process to continue. And I've had weeks where those trades have just gone belly up and I couldn't do them and I'd have to pivot at the last moment. But remaining calm when something hasn't worked has probably been the best thing, because it's easy to go, oh well, that didn't work, and you throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I think remaining calm when something doesn't work and just continuing on with your plan, because you've made a plan, you have to back in that plan. Just making that plan and pushing that plan through, and is probably the best thing that you could do, even if you haven't had the best start to the season.
100%. I do love that. Always be wary of a man with a plan. Sorry if that was a bit of a cliche. That was a bit of a cliche, but hey.
No, that's going to be written on Damo's. He's going to get it tattooed on his chest. The man with the plan, and we can all beware him.
Yes, we will beware you. Another thing that, on top of that I guess held me in pretty good stead is trying to, I guess, minimize the amount of trades that you're using on mid prices. Definitely thinking that not wasting boosts on mid prices, not quite the strategy. It's all about trying to get to full premium as soon as possible. And if you've given your premiums at the start, they're underperforming. Like I had Jordan Dawson, for example, at the start of the season, and I gave him a couple of weeks. I didn't want to rage trade him immediately from the first week when he let me down. I just thought you tend to want to back in your premiums, but sometimes, just before he's changed price, I flipped him to Sarong, freed up a little bit of money, and then Sarong was someone who you would have at that point had 2 weeks of sample size to see how he's looking. You've had 2 weeks to look at Dawson before making that decision, and so it just felt right. And in the end, it's definitely worked out for me. So it's I guess don't rage trade, don't lose your cool. It's goes a little bit hand in hand with what Damo's saying about sticking to your plan. Trust the process. You've picked certain players for a reason. It's not just luck. It's not like you are playing with a deck of cards and you've suddenly pulled out, oh, I own this player. No, you traded them in. You picked them for a reason. So don't rage trade. Keep your eye on it, on the prize. Tom Green, he's performing really terribly. He's scoring really badly. Why is that? Disposal efficiency. So if he cleans that up, you'll be fine again. And if you rage traded him a couple of weeks ago, right now you're raging, where was this before? So just back in your players and back in the reasoning why you brought them in.
So I'll ask you this, and I've decided that I'm going to start asking guests from now until the end of the season, Damo. So new segment, new returning question, I think. Who is your favorite player that you traded in, and who is your least favorite player that you stuck with?
Least favorite player that I've stuck with has got to be Tim English. Stuff you, English, you piece of crap. Honestly, it's been to think I paid over 715,000 for you, Muppet.
Wild, right?
Just to be running around like a headless chicken and completely disinterested and can't wait to be leaving the Western Bulldogs, but in the process also reducing his value elsewhere. So he's now in this terrible position where he's stuck in my team whilst also stuck in his team. So yeah, stuff you, English. Best player that I've traded in that I've been really happy with. Look, it might seem pretty crazy, but look, I've enjoyed when I traded LDU in. I traded him in maybe a month or so ago, and ever since I've done so, he's just, apart from last week, of course. So, but we're willing to forgive him for last week. He's been doing really well. It gave me 114, a 147, a 143, and I had him as my vice captain as well. So it was a lot of fun owning someone who a lot of people sort of spurned a little bit. Like people seeing me, LDU, no way, don't bring him in. I'm just like, nah, I'm going to bring him in and you watch, it's going to make you cry. Yeah. And then the following week, people are like, damn, I wish I brought an LDU. And I'm like, ha, exactly. So I'll say LDU has been my favorite trade-in.
I absolutely love that.
I love sticking it to people. What can I say?
If nothing else, Supercoach is for spite.
100%. No, it's good fun. It's definitely good fun. So honestly, the team wasn't doing so hot shot at that point of the season anyway. It's just like, look, I want to find the best value option that I can. It could have been an Errol Goulden, but I think LDU was even cheaper than him at the time. So I was just thinking, look, at that point, LDU is just way too much value to be had. And, I think that's something I'm going to take with me going into next year, trying to play more value oriented. No need to pay up the big bucks for the starting players on each of the lines. Definitely look to maybe play a bit more value oriented when in relation to the premiums, and they're invariably going to go up in price. Whereas the top dogs are overpriced at the start of the season, we can always get them cheaper later. Why would you? Unlike me, who decided to not start Max Gorn for 580, I decided to trade him in for over 700. So yeah, it's been a wonderful learning experience this year.
Look, I wasn't going to bring up Max Gorn, but but yeah, I think that was a very interesting discussion. I think has gone clearly one way.
Yep. I'm not going to dwell on that, please. Let's move on. I spent way too much for him.
Spin up the next section, Damo, quickly.
Here at the Footy Mailbag, we are continuing until round 24, but we need your help. We need your help, the listeners. We can only continue if you continue to send us questions. So it doesn't matter what question it is. You could ask us about 2025. You could ask us about trade and free agency. You could ask us a general football question that you'd like our opinion on. But our podcast can only continue as long as you send your questions in. And as long as those questions keep coming, we will keep continuing until round 24.
Yes.
Sounds good. Ask us which teams would be the One Piece crew in anime. We'll get Joe back on again, and we'll do an anime cross football episode.
That would be sick.
I'd be useless in that episode. I'd know nothing.
Even better, Damo. You don't have to know anything.
It's all right. You can be our tsundere in the show. But now, any question there's no such thing as a dumb question. No such thing as too philosophical of a question. What is the meaning of life? What's the best way to resolve the Gaza? Anything. These guys here can answer any and all questions. So,
Joe, in our early days, we actually answered a question about who had the best hair in the AFL. So, like, a question like that is honestly fine.
Yep.
So, yeah, listeners, send in your
days.
questions and we will answer it.
Simpler times.
It's late in the season, so not as important, but there are rookies on the bubble this week. Ari Schoenmaker, Logan Evans, Kynan Brown, and Hugh Davies. Don't select Hugh Davies. He'll be going out for Brennan Cox this week. And one gamers, Lawson Humphreys, Andy Monis Wakefield, Jacob Blight, and Will Lorenz. Joe, why are rookies important at the back end of the season?
They are great coverage on your bench. Also, if you have some trades still up your back pocket, you might want to pick someone like a Schoenmaker, for example, who's playing in the half back line, capable of taking some kick-ins. So he can give you a pretty decent floor for a rookie sitting on your bench, whilst also freeing up a lot of money that in case you have an injury, maybe someone like a Zach Fisher might need his foot amputated, for example, then you might end up getting someone remarkable to take their place.
And Clarky, do you think premium break-evens and prices are important to track in the back end of the season when a lot of people have completed teams?
I think so. If you're someone who is still holding on to a few trades to try some sneaky deaky little sideways moves, if you're going for like a league win, or you're just noticing a hot run of form and you have that to burn, some people may have not just injury trades left, but they may have just gotten their path correct. Like you said, Damo planned well ahead and they've got their team to where they want it to be. And now this is the time where you start mid-maxing your team, right? You try to get the best scores you can get on field as often as possible. So I think it's really important to keep track of who's scoring what and where they're at. So you're not jumping on players, like you're probably still not jumping on a Marcus Bontempelli at 700 when you have a lot of value sitting around, that 550 to 600 on the fallen primo kind of categories.
Yep, that's right. I just pulled out a gnome here. After
The gnomes are back, baby.
The gnomes are back. I just remembered that I had a gnome here on my desk, and I was just like, "Oh, Clarky might appreciate
Sick.
this."
We're doing gnome cast again.
I just took a picture of yours, Joe, to stick on our socials. Actually, hold yours up, and then Clarky can hold his up, and we'll put a picture
That's
on our
right.
socials of both of them.
We're in the
So-
gnome zone, baby.
This is the gnome zone, 100%.
So there's Clarky with his gnome and Joe with his gnome. We'll put it both on. We'll put them on the
I
socials.
hope this is staying in the show.
And,
Is this content?
Oh yeah, we're not cutting this out. It's too.
Yeah, good.
I'm not going back to
This
find
is
this.
content.
Yeah, this is actual content, man.
Don't worry, listeners. We'll get back on track soon. Actually, Clarky, it's up to you to get us back on track.
Oh yeah, shit. So the spark of this week is going to come as very little surprise to a lot of listeners out there. There's a little guy who plays in a little sash, a mid-forward option who is just on fire at the moment, and I think we've spoken about him before. But I think this is the week if you're still looking for a forward option. Jai Caldwell. Jai Caldwell needs to be considered. Jai Caldwell needs to be brought into your team. I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't be looking at him at 505,000. You could easily switch a Luke Jackson to him with a 3-round average of 112, a 5-round average of 100, and he's up there in total points. He's up there in averages. What's not to like, Joe? Can you tell us a little bit about why Caldwell has just been hitting? He's been hitting correct for the Dons at the moment.
He is one of our best. I would actually have to say that he is the best player at our club below the knees. He's just got the cleanest hands, just doesn't fumble. And he's so good at gathering the ball and shooting out a clean handball. He's also really good at kicking the ball inside 50 if he's the one receiving on the outside. He's a tackling machine. He's probably one of our best, if not our best, two-way midfielder at the moment. He has no issues getting his own contested ball, but also going back the other way and getting tackles. This is probably the first season where he's managed to get some more regular rotations and featuring more prominently in the midfield. A big part of it has to come from Darcy Parish being out of the side. Darcy Parish, who, as of the latest injury report, is still 3 weeks away with his calf. He's been 3 weeks away now for the last 4 weeks on our injury list. And he was a late out. You know, it wasn't even like he got injured during a game. He was a late out with calf awareness. And he's still out. The last time he
Still
played...
very aware.
Yeah, he's very aware. He played the last game in round 9. So he's had 6 weeks now where he's still aware of the calf and is still 3 weeks away. So I think there are rumblings that Dylan Shield might be coming back into the side this week. It will not be for Caldwell. It will most likely be for Perkins and have Perkins maybe play a bit more forward as opposed to on the ball. Caldwell is absolutely someone that I've been talking about on the centre bounce for the last 3 or 4 weeks, really, in relation to who people can bring into trade and finish their forward lines. He's absolutely up there, top 6 forward for sure.
Don Tootin.
Excellent. So Clarky's spark this week is Jai Caldwell. He'll be featured on this week's Traffic Lights that will be out on Friday, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. Let's move on to the listener questions. The first question comes from Jared. He says, "Hi boys, love the pod. First time caller, long time listener. Great swing reference the other week, by the way.
Yeah.
Clarky, that's for you.
Yeah, baby. Jared's the man.
He's sent photos of his side, which I have here. He's reasonably happy with it, apart from a weak midfield and Sexton as F6. First year playing and not sure what to do with my last 6 trades. Do I convert Aaliyah, Sullivan, and Fraser into Shieldmaker, Rosie, and a forward rookie? And sideways 1 or 2 of Horn, Francis, Miller, Whitfield into either Sarong, Luke, Ryan, or another Primo, leaving myself with 1 to 2 trades and a 23rd Primo. Lots of room for line changes with DPP, or keep the team pretty much the same, make 1 or 2 sideways trades and get rid of a rookie to enable that, keeping 3 to 4 trades for the run home in case of injuries. He would also like us to rank some good sideways trades that you could do at the moment.
I'll rank anything you give me.
Yeah, so he hasn't given us any names to rank, so I think we just sort of go through and look at disappointing players and other players around their price, I guess. But to answer his question, does he convert Aaliyah, Sullivan, and Fraser into Shieldmaker, Rosie, and a forward rookie? and then a week after go Horn Francis, Miller, Whitfield into either Sarong, Luke Ryan, or another primo? Or does he keep his team pretty much the same and only make 1 or 2 sideways trades to keep 3 to 4 trades for the run home? So let me let me
break this down into
let
some smaller
me read out
portions.
his team. Let me read out his team.
Sure.
Okay, so in defense he's got Dacos, Sheasel, Dale, Ridley, Whitfield, and Young. His midfield is Bont, Merritt, Butters, Walsh, Yo, Horn Francis, Miller, and Green. And his ruck line is Gawn and English. And his forward line is Flanders, Heaney, Zorko, Rankin, Fisher, and Sexton. And on his bench, he's got Kruger, Fraser, Naismith, Manor, Dowling, Sullivan, Alia, and Dawson. It's actually a pretty good team.
Yeah.
His team is better than mine. What the fuck, bro?
With more trades than me. Nah, stuff you, Jared. I'm not helping you, mate.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
jealous.
I genuinely looking at this team, right? I think it makes sense to get rid of Aaliyah, Sullivan, and Fraser to some degree. To answer this first part of the question,
Yeah.
Turning it into Schoenmaker, Rosie, and a forward rookie feels a little like, I feel like between Aaliyah, Sullivan, and Fraser, you can probably go a little bit better and then double rookie than Rosie, right? I think Rosie is a bit too value for the amount of cash that you'll have from that trade.
I don't think he's going to gain anything from moving Horn Francis and then getting Rosie. I think he's going to get about the same from keeping Horn Francis.
Yep.
I've interrupted you, Clarky, and I'm sorry, but
well, no, I was about to. That's a good point.
I think he should keep Sexton as cover. I think Sexton's really good cover, but he's got Fraser, Sullivan, and Aaliyah all on his bench, which is also good cover. But now you can probably move Sullivan and Fraser, and he looks like he's got some money left in the bank as well, so he could probably turn Sullivan and Fraser into Humphreys and a forward primo that he could then loop with Sexton and get the best score on field in that F6 position. But otherwise, Jared, your team's looking fine.
I'm going to say it. Just do Aaliyah and Horn Francis to a premium mid and then Schoenmaker. You've still got the bench cover of Schoenmaker, and then you've got a better premium mid. So you'd still have Bont, Merritt, Butters, Walsh, Yo, new premium, Miller, and Green. And then your team's immediately better, right? Horn Francis is averaging 101. You could easily turn that into a guy who's averaging, 115 plus.
And even like Sexton might get affected by Lockie Weller returning this week, but even then, Sexton's at 420k. You're probably gonna have some money left over, turning Francis and Aaliyah into a better midfield premium. So you can use that one trade, then week after, if Sexton is too badly affected by Weller returning. But yeah, Jared, your team's in a great spot. I don't think you need to change too much.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where having those extra trades and not overthinking it is going to be really beneficial to you on the run home, because your team is very, very close to being an optimal version of itself. And in some cases, like a lot of people probably experienced last week, sometimes it's just a bad week, right? Like you score 2,100, but you've got a team that was projected for 2,600. That's going to happen, right? It's football. So
Sure.
Don't overthink it. You've got a lot of good trades. Just upgrade those last few pieces and cash in on those rookies when you can. But don't overthink it and don't overwork it.
100%. I wonder what ranking he's got. That's a really good team.
Yeah, Jared, let us know what rank you are.
It's like, I'm looking at the team and it's pretty good. I like that forward line is pretty strong, even with Sexton at F6. So,
yeah.
Jared, you're going absolutely fine, especially this is your first year playing. Next question comes from next year. Next year's going to be interesting. Next question comes from Ro Danks. why did I bring in Kerno and Houston instead of Rankin and Sinclair?
Joe, can you handle this one for Ro?
Look, I got Kerno last week, the week before this last game. So I got Kerno's really good score, and it just comes, it comes with it's the risk, right? There's always an inherent risk when it comes to picking key position forwards like Kerno, for example. So I got the 118 the week before, thought I was a genius, and then got the 54. But hey, at least I didn't trade him in for a 54. Still got a favorable run to come. I wouldn't be entirely disappointed by having Kerno. I think a lot of people jumped on that train as well last week for those who missed out the previous week. So I'm not
And
entirely worried about that.
and
Who were the other players?
Houston against St Kilda, that score was against the trend.
Yes, correct. That was an aberration. It's classic Dan Houston this year, though, that I don't know. He just hasn't quite been as consistently good, I guess, as what would have hoped. He just occasionally has a real big spike game to sort of get that average up during the course of the season, but he's definitely been a little bit underwhelming. I thought he would score better, especially during that early Adelaide Oval run, but he was just okay. It was just serviceable. So I don't know. He plays a weird role for the team at Port Adelaide. It's not like he's playing halfback anymore. It's almost like he's the one who's playing off the back of the stoppages and really relying on being fed the ball on the outside. None of it is contested. It's all uncontested in nature. And if they're not giving the ball to him, they're giving the ball to Burton and Farrell, who are also both pretty decent kicks of the football as well. So, yeah, Houston's one of those. He's a burn man for a reason, and at that price against that matchup, you were not wrong to go with to pick him, hoping that he would give you a good score.
Yeah, don't get too caught up in your could'ves and should'ves when you make your trades. Sometimes a trade will pay off, sometimes it won't, but you traded those players in for a reason, not for just 1 week, and you've got them for another 6 or 7 to end the season, and you just got to hope that they finish strong for you, which they should, because Kerner's got a pretty good run home, and so does Port Adelaide.
Sorry, that was really hopeful advice then, and then you were just like, well, you're stuck with them anyway, so
Correct.
make the best of your bed, Ro.
You thought you were bad now. Guess what? It could get worse.
And that's important to remember. It could always be worse.
I don't know if that's what I meant, but
It's certainly what you said.
Look, Hakuna Matata, right? You never know.
What a wonderful phrase, Joe.
It's a wonderful phrase. There's no reason to worry about what's going to happen a month from now.
Nah, that's it.
Just
That's it.
enjoy the game. Enjoy the game. Have some fun. It's Hakuna Matata.
Thanks, Ro.
all right. This next question comes from Will. I do have a little note here that I think this was sent last week, but it was sent
no.
after we recorded last week's podcast. So I just want to remind people that if you're going to use our Google form, please send it before Wednesday, 5 p.m. Melbourne time if you want it included in that week's episode. Otherwise, it won't be answered until the following week. This one, I think, is still valid, and we'll answer it anyway for you, Will, because you got involved for us. But just a bit of a FYI for the people who want to use the Google form. Hey guys, Will here. Huge fan of your show, and thanks for answering my questions over the past couple of weeks. My team is finished with 5 trades left and 40k in the bank. I am wondering whether I should save trades or would trading Jackson to Caldwell be a good idea to make my forward line stronger.
Yeah.
Was also considering Steele to Butters, but held off on that because of the potential Windhager tag last week.
I'd do it.
I would do it too.
So would you do Jackson to Caldwell or Steele to Butters?
Yeah, Damo, and I've got a bone to pick with you about this as the resident Freo guy. What's going on with Jackson? Why he's so stinky?
I read something today. That he's acting as the third tall, not the main man. Now that Tracy and Amos have kind of come out of their shells a bit, they're not requiring Jackson to create a massive presence in the forward line anymore. So he's kind of been their Mr. Fix-It play anywhere guy. So that's why he's not doing as good. And it's annoying me.
Very stinky.
Very stinky. I had. Is it an opportunity? No, I wouldn't say it's an opportunity. I thought I was at a crossroads where I was almost forced to picking up Jackson. But I thought, no, I was so disgusted by that. It was almost as if someone held me at gunpoint. A friend was telling me, because I recorded a video with Big J. In terms of, I was willing to cop the donut of sweet at R2 that week for that second week. And then he's just talked me out of, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You have to pick someone up. You have to pick up Jackson. And I'm like, no, he's a fraud. I won't do it. He's like, no, you have to pick him. I'm just like, I don't want to. And I had people in the comments section saying, Joe, you look like you were being held, for ransom. Like you were absolutely, swindled in and held against your will to trade in Luke Jackson. And I thought, nah, stuff this. I'm willing to pay $701,000 for Gorn instead of paying that much for Jackson.
So what do you guys rate as a better move? Jackson to Caldwell or Steele to Butters?
Jackson to Caldwell.
Jackson to Caldwell.
There you go, Will. That's the verdict there. Next question comes from Jimothy. I think he's looking for a cheap forward because he wants to know who we prefer out of Shai Bolton or Tom Sparrow.
Oh, speaking of stinky.
Jeez. We're looking really deep now. Let's have a look.
Speaking of guns to our head.
Sparrow's a gun.
Okay. I'm going to talk objectively while Joe looks up some stats. I love Tom Sparrow. I think he is a talented young player who, given time, would develop into an exceptional midfielder. Spent a lot of time being referred to as like one of the next. It was him and James Jordan were like the next Petrarca and Oliver, supposedly, and then James Jordan left, and now it's just Tom Sparrow who works hard but doesn't have a lot of impact with the ball. Do I think he can score well? Sometimes, but he'd need like 60 touches. What do I know about Shai Bolton? He only good when Richmond are good. He's just like Shai Bolton requires impact, and Richmond don't really have that. Like he's the one who was stepping up in big moments, and that's where he was getting a lot of big score from. We saw it when Dustin Martin was out. He was kind of real bad on his own, and now Dustin Martin's back and he's still not good because Richmond no good. Is that have I have I bought you enough time, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Actually, no, keep going. I like hearing you trying to extend this out for as long as possible. This is great. Now, I mean, if you're looking at Sparrow or Bolton costs $405,000. So if you've got $405,000, then I'm hoping that you've got $406,000 because you can get Harry Mackay potentially for $406,000. We've spoken about Carlton's great run home.
I hope you can get $406,000.
Yeah, well, if you've got 405, maybe you have 406. Just maybe.
Or 408 for Brian Myers.
Or 408.
Oh, Lionel Messi himself.
Exactly. Messi.
Or Charlie Comben is only $400 more than Shai Bolton, and I prefer him because he has intercept marking.
If you got Shai Bolton money, I hope you have $400 more money.
Exactly.
Do you know who I like better than Shai Bolton or Tom Sparrow? Bradley Hill. Just
all right, David. Let's say things we can't take back.
Or Toby Green.
Sorry, Joe. I think we interrupted your point.
No, but my point was, I hope you have a little bit of money in the bank.
I hope you have. So okay.
I tell you who's better than Shai Bolton and is cheaper. Cozzy Pickett. You're getting the same player who's actually going to play midfield.
Cozzy Pickett, much more fun to watch play.
For sure. He's getting more time around the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think he has more upside.
If we're weighing up just Shai Bolton and Tom Sparrow, where are we going?
Off the cliff.
We're a good advice show.
It's I'm sorry.
If I had to pick between the two, I'd probably pick Tom Sparrow, but only because I like him. I
Yeah,
just
Richmond are tanking now. I feel at this point they're gonna get to a not look. That's rough on Richmond. Forgive me. Obviously had a lot of injuries early on in the year, but they know they're not making anything. They might as well just cellar dwell this year to get a good draft pick.
you heard it here first. Richmond are tanking.
But if that's your price range, there's other options that you can go to. We've mentioned Cozzy Pickett, we've mentioned Harry Mackay,
Charlie
we've
Comben.
mentioned Charlie Common, we've mentioned Brian Myers.
Yes.
All those guys are probably better than the two that you mentioned in this question. To be honest, Jimothy, thanks for getting involved. Next
Did mention Brian
question.
Myers.
Sam Switkowski, maybe?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, not Sam Switkowski. I think that pick would make people go bald.
Thanks, Timothy. We love you. Please
Thanks,
keep listening.
Jim.
Next question comes from Dwayne. Actually, I should be promoting Sam Switkowski. He does the intro to this podcast. We love you, Sam
He's our
Switkowski.
boy. What are you talking? I
That's
was
what
gonna
I'm
wait
saying.
I'm waiting for the penny to drop, Damo.
I
Our
was so
boy.
confused. I thought you would take it and do something with it, not just say people will go bold. Jeez, all right, fine. I missed that script there.
Yeah, this podcast is pro Sam Switkowski and pro Jake Bowie.
Next question comes from Dwayne. Putting in the last primo for my team and can't decide. I can afford both of Dunkley or Sinclair.
Sinclair's better, but Dunkley's cheaper. I'd probably say Dunkley based on current form.
I agree.
Yeah, I think I like Dunkley, but that's probably just my Ross Lyon hatred coming out.
He's under 600. He's under 600k, right? Like you feel the value in that. They're both good picks, and no matter which one, I think you win.
He's not getting tagged.
Yeah.
Ever. If anyone gets tagged at Brisbane, it's Lockie Neal, and we saw just how stark of a difference there was in the scoring between when Ashcroft was around and when Ashcroft was no longer around. Dunkley was scoring a lot better with Ashcroft in the team. Ashcroft was in the team last week, and lo and behold, he scored a 140 plus. Dunkley could even be a VC option this week against Adelaide at home.
A VC option. It's the last game of the round, mate.
Mate, you know what I mean. C option. But I think that I honestly think Dunkley's for sure going to be someone who could well and truly finish top 8 mid this year.
Next question comes from Con. I have no donuts on my midfield bench to use as a loop. Would you rather cash out Bruce Reville, Joel Frazier, or Billy Dowling? Will mean 3 trades left over.
Frazier for sure.
Does he need a donut on the midfield bench?
If that's your midfield bench, yeah. What's the donut for? If you're not, is it for your VC loop?
If it's VC loop, don't you have a non-playing R3?
Some of us have Nathan Kruger, Joe.
I've got him in the forward line.
Yeah, fair enough. I like to just switch him and Cohen Livingston around just to have a little bit of fun. Just pretend I've got trades left.
No donuts anywhere on the bench. Jeez, this team is stacked.
Nice work, Con. If you're giving me those 3, I'd probably say Frazier. Just because you net the cash. Bruce Revels just basically reset his cash gen.
If it's just a donut you're after, then I would actually cash out Billy Dowling. I don't trust him in the Adelaide side to not be a sub eventually and just ruin your team if you need another scored. So I think even though Dowling's only had 1 price rise at the moment, and cash generation isn't your goal here, Dowling is probably the one that I would get rid of. Frazier and Reville seem to be in that 22 or 23 pretty well at the moment and a pretty good cover for the run home.
Yeah, and Frazier's break even's 20 as well this week. So
yeah, I want to give a quick shout out while we're talking about Bruce Reville. So I have a coworker who I conned into doing Supercoach this year for the first time. Her husband does it, but she had never done it, and we were having a chat about it. She's like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. She's in a league with you and I, Damo, and a bunch of our friends. That if you're not first, you're last league. Shout out to those guys. But at the very start of the year when she was making her team, she made a really good team, and her team's doing pretty okay for her first year out. She's having fun. That's what's most important.
Good.
She picked 2 players, and at the very start, before the season began, she made 3 predictions. 1, Bruce Revel is going to debut this year, and he won't leave the Brisbane team. In fact, she said that Bruce Revel was her mascot and / captain of her team in spirit, obviously. And lo and behold, Bruce Revel debuted, and he has not left the team, and he's been very good. Big fan. Her second prediction was that Andy Moniz Wakefield was going to get debut this year. I don't know how she did it.
Get her signature ASAP.
Yeah,
before
absolutely.
Church and becomes a prophet, a modern day prophet, because I think she's already on the way there.
Yeah. And her third prediction, which has yet to come true, but if it comes true, I am going to be asking for like lotto numbers for just to like give me blessings every week. Her third prediction is for Hawthorn to finish 6th,
They could.
which is mathematically possible.
If they finish 6th and she gets 3 out of 3,
It might be the greatest prediction of all time. So
what tea leaves did she read? What like where like how did this? That's
the instincts of a natural coach, and I just want to shout out Yvette. Fantastic work. I'm so proud.
The prophetess, mate. She's
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. She get her
Absolutely.
signature immediately, and shake her hand. And if she has a ring, kiss the ring.
Yeah.
And get all the blessings upon your Supercoach team.
Nothing but
forward.
respect. Nothing but respect for the Queen.
Indeed.
Sorry, next question, Damo.
next question is our last question. Comes from our Google form. They didn't leave their name. Hey guys, team is completed 4 trades. Left forward line is Heaney, Flanders, Zorko, Fisher, Caldwell, and Kerno. I
Jeez.
can't cover Fisher if he doesn't play. And I can't turn Fisher into Rankin with 1 trade. Is it a good play to downgrade Jai Clark and then move Fisher to Rankin, considering it will only leave me with 2 trades for the rest of the season?
How many premiums will he have then? Would he have 23 or 22 still?
22. The sound of the question makes it sound like 22.
I think...
Well, Fisher hasn't been confirmed out yet.
No, it's currently listed as subject to fitness tests, which is question mark. We'll find out. We record on Wednesday, so we'll find out what
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. I don't know. Look, it makes sense to me, but I think if you have faith that Fisher holds his role, then to be quite honest, it feels a bit like a wasted trade that you might need for an actual injury. So hold out for teams, and if it looks like he's going to miss, make that call at the time, but be confident that you're going for the better option, right? You have to be willing to stick with Rankin or whoever, or Caldwell, or whoever it is that you decide to bring in to replace Fisher.
Did he say something about trading up Clark?
Yeah, so they need to trade out Jai Clark and Fisher to get Rankin and, I don't know, I assume someone. Would you do it?
I think it's good. I think that's fine. I think Rankin has shown that he can give midfield scoring in the forward line, which is unreal. So obviously don't pull the trigger yet. Wait for team sheets, and if team sheets are out and he's not playing, then yeah, go for it. Have fun. Live with no regrets. Life's too short to have regrets, and we don't want you to come back, Mr. Anonymous, and say, hey, you guys didn't tell me to trade this person in, and I really wanted to. So hey, just do what you want to do.
Yeah, Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata? It's a wonderful phrase.
Please don't sue Disney. Damo, would you do it?
Problem-free philosophy?
I mean, I probably would, but only if Fisher's not playing.
Okay.
Yes. Agreed.
That seems fair. I hope that answers your question.
Mr. Anonymous.
Whoever you are out there.
It's Walt Disney's ghost. He is going to sue us.
Yeah, they tricked us into using Hakuna Matata again. You guys gonna need to buy more T-shirts. We got a lawsuit to file.
I can help you there, maybe.
With no more games on Thursday nights this season, our traffic lights will be posted on Fridays once Sunday teams are confirmed. This way, we get as much team information as possible. Just keep an eye out on Fridays when we will post our weekly traffic lights. We'll grade some players each week, and they will either be awarded a green, yellow, or red rating. Green indicates a good pick, yellow is a watch or a hold, red is a trade or a void. A player could earn their rating for several reasons, including but not limited to scoring potential, job security, price point, reliability, or injury status. So keep a lookout on Fridays for our traffic lights if you need a hand with your trades.
Results may vary. Now, gentlemen, this is the time of the week that we get to decide who our VC and C options are. Joe, you're the guest. Who is your VC for this week?
My VC this week, I'm still tossing and turning. These two players, though, play in the exact same game. I'm looking at Dacos and Merritt
Juicy.
as my VCs potentially. Dacos loves a good prime time standalone slot. Got a good matchup against the Bombers. I don't think we've got anyone that can run with him to tag him, so he'll have free reign to do whatever he wants to do. And I think the same also applies to Zach Merritt, who Collingwood don't tag. And Merritt does pretty well, I think, against the Pies. So I'm leaning towards Merritt. I'm going to go with Bit Potty. I'm going to go with Zach Merritt as my VC this week.
Yeah, I like that, and I think it's probably worth pointing out. You make a good point. I think this is the time of the season now to really be taking a punt on your VCs to get yourself a little bit ahead, right? You want to go for those guys, and I believe, Damo, you and I have been talking about it now for about getting those pod VCs, but also our good friend Pig Mentality over at Dr. Supercoach, who does captains videos every week. Go support him. He made a good point where this is the time of year where you aren't going for safe VCs. You want the guys who have like the 150 ceilings, the ability to go above and beyond and net you like a 300. So keep that in mind when you're selecting your VCs for this week, and find that guy who you can sort of go, all right, well, I've got a safe option for you. See, Damo, who is your selected VC this week?
I have gone for a massive point of difference, but he comes up against a team that gives up a lot of midfield points.
Oh my God, Rory Lobb.
My VC is Will Day against Geelong.
I like that. That's good.
Nice.
That's
Very nice.
juicy.
I love it. I love Will Day.
Talk me through it. Talk me through it a little bit more.
Well, Geelong Geelong aren't a restrictive midfield. They do let the other midfield kind of just do their thing. They just like to go head to head. They back in their own system. And Will Day has had a pretty good year since coming into the side after his injury. And I just think against Geelong, there's every chance that he could pump out a 130, 140. And I'll lock that away if it happens.
That's absolutely juicy from both of you. Joe, I have to be honest, I am leaning a little bit more towards Dacos in your conundrum, because Merritt burned me last week, so he's in the bad boy books right now. But Damo, that is absolutely juicy, and I'm going to follow suit with absolutely no data to support this, but Marvel Stadium, the Suns have come to freeze over. I'm thinking of putting the VC on Flanders.
Hey.
I
Sexy boy.
just think that Gold Coast need to stamp their foot away from home, right? Coming off a hot win last week against Collingwood, North Melbourne should be a reasonable kill for them, and Flanders is going to be a big old part of that. I reckon he could go 140. Everything permitting, but that being said, gonna be cold.
It's gonna be cold.
Not gonna be good for the Queenslanders. So that's my hot VC take. Just a vibe, not really any data, but I think all three of these options are great for people to consider. But Joe, tell me, who's leading your team out of through the banner this week?
I love it. You were saying, Zach Merritt burnt you last week with a poor score.
He did.
you know, he definitely had a lot of attention last week playing against the Cats. Who love to send someone to shadow. Merritt's always the first one to be tagged. The player
Makes
that
sense.
I'm picking this week is someone who has copped the tag the last few weeks, and I think is going to absolutely spread his wings, and he is going to have a wonderful outing against a team that I anticipate they should smash.
Oh
And
my
I'm
god,
looking at
Rory
Caleb
Lobb.
Sarong. I'm looking at Caleb Sarong as my captain this week. I think
That's so
Caleb
good.
I haven't had him as captain all year, but I'm thinking this is the time to do it. He's had some attention the last few weeks, and he hasn't been that bad despite the attention. An 85 last week, a 121 against the Suns, a 96 against the Dogs, and 102 against Melbourne. So even when he's copping some attention in the midfield, he still hasn't given us any subpar scores. I anticipate we saw what happened last week with both Walsh and Cripps going bananas. Sarong is not worse than Walsh. Sarong is not worse than Cripps, in my opinion, especially given their age profiles, where they're at in their careers. I totally see Sarong having a similar sort of career to Cripps moving forward. Sarong is going to lead me out to a wonderful 150 plus score this week. I'm very confident about this.
I absolutely love that. There's nothing so wrong with that. Is there, fellas? uh, oh, we have fun here. We have a lot of fun here. No, but like it just makes sense, right? Like Richmond gave up such big scores to a good midfield last weekend.
Yeah.
I think especially the rest of the field, Damo's kind of looking a little bit like, oh my god, I'm a little bit worried, and I understand that because he is the Freo supporter. But
Yep.
the Vic Bias crew, we absolutely believe in Flag Mantle.
Oh yeah.
It's just such a quality midfield group that I think this
Yeah.
should be like a 90-point win.
Yeah. Oh, they're winning easily, and in my prediction for the top 8 a month ago, I've had Fremantle finishing the top 4, and I can't see that changing right now.
That feels good, doesn't it, Damo?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
the blessings from Victoria, the only state that matters.
The lid's not off yet. It's unscrewed, but it's just sitting on top still. I need something to really blow it off and take it down the Swan River.
Yeah, you gotta like put it in the microwave, let that seal blow it off.
It's all right. A 70-point win on the weekend will do, I think, wonders for that. Maybe.
Absolutely, Damo. Who's your captain on this week?
I'm going with the Melbourne captain, Max Gawn.
That makes sense. Beautiful, bald boy. He's got a little son that likes Carlton.
Sunday game MCG against a struggling team with two ruckmen who don't know their left foot from their right foot. Max Gawn should pump out a 115 at least pretty easily, and I'm happy to cop that if Will Day doesn't pan out.
Well, so Max Gordon had a 109 against West Coast last time we played them over in WA. I think the conditions are a little bit more favourable for us. Probably the only thing I have concerns about would be weather. It's been a bit wet. It's been a bit miserable in Melbourne. I haven't looked up the forecast, but I think if it kind of ends up being a wet weather game at the G, then that might impact Max. I like the matchup.
If it's a wet weather game, and I will know and I'll be watching this game on TV, I will probably move it to someone else, maybe a Dane Zorko at the Gabba, or an Isaac Heaney against the Saints. But at the moment it's on Max Gawn.
No, that's perfectly
I'm on the
sensible.
bureau. I'm on the Bureau of Meteorology right now.
We've called up the bureau.
We've called up the bureau. Yes, 15 degrees on Sunday. Okay, only 10% chance of rain.
Okay, that's good.
Mostly sunny.
That's good. We like that.
Excellent. That is Max Gawn domination weather.
Perfect. Perfect conditions. Now, there's one name that I get to say now.
Yes.
And once again, pure vibes. You guys have put out some really good... And this is why I like the captain section for me, because I get to hear other ideas that aren't me just going, I like this name this week for some reason. But the name that I like this week for some reason is a little man called Lachlan Neal. Against Adelaide. Lachie Neal has just had a really good, consistent run of form, and I kind of, after copying a Zach Merritt 78 last week, which is literally I had the VC on Gorn who scored 79. So I actually got 2 points less than I really should have. Lucky Neal has had an incredible run of form. Only one game below 100 in the last 6 weeks, and even a 114 last week. If the worst he gives me is a 115 to 120, I can live with that, especially if I'm going to go with Flanders as my VC option.
No
That's it.
love for the Bond. No love for Marcus amongst us.
I don't have him, so I refuse to love him. But that is a good point. Alternative captains, while we should mention all the names. Marcus
Alternate
Bontempelli.
universes.
Yeah, Marcus Bontempelli, I guess if you have him, he's alright. Whatever. I don't know, he can score points, I guess. I don't mind the Carlton midfield against GWS. I think you should be avoiding a Tom Green who has hit a bit better form in recent times, but I think he will probably cop some attention from Chincotta. If not, Josh Kelly copping a little bit of that.
I don't mind Zach Butters against the Bulldogs at Adelaide Oval either. He's another good option.
Another reason why I wouldn't go with Green, I think Kelly has done another calf.
Really?
Yes, out for 3 to 5 weeks. They announced that last night.
Oh my god, I missed it. Oh no. Oh, that's so. The Giants started off so strong.
Boom, boom, boom. It does another calf. He's done another calf.
I also like Max Holmes just because he's had a really good year. I think that's probably someone who, if you have him and you feel like you want to just take a bit of a run at it, it's 110 last week. Hawthorn probably a bit of an easier opposition for Geelong, and once again in the last 6 weeks has only had one score below 100, and that includes a 134.
I called him the one that I've hated owning all year. He better make it up for me this week. I reckon Tim English, if he doesn't score well for me this week against Port Adelaide, their ruck department isn't going too hot shot at the moment, then I'm really going to put him on my never again list.
That's it. I think that'll do us for captains.
Si, senor.
And that's it for this episode of the Footy Mailbag. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
Mate, the pleasure has been mine. Thank you for having me once again. Always great vibes spending it here with you and Clarky. Of course, you can find me and Big J of The Centre Bounce. We are on YouTube, The Centre Bounce. You can find me at Chabby_Joe on Twitter. You can also find me on FanCast AFL, at FanCast on YouTube, as well as on Spotify. We do have a Spotify version for FanCast, and FanCast AFL on Twitter. So, yeah, chuck us a follow there and keep up with all of our shenanigans. We went through we did a bit of squiggle on Monday, 7:30 live stream on the Centre Bounce. And yeah, for some reason, everyone thought I was being very biased having Essendon still in the 8. So, mate, get stuffed is all I have to say.
It's mathematically possible, which means
it's mathematically possible, correct.
That's all that matters.
And Clarky, it was good having you back.
That's right, baby. I'm back. No more State of Origins for me. I'm back to the code that matters in Victoria. Damo, you were on the Falcon this week, so I'm going to plug my other show. Go listen to the Falcon footy podcast. We had Damo on this week where we talked about Supercoach as a way of getting to know football better, and then also kind of end up with a little bit of a Jock Reynolds behind the music vibe, where Damo and I talked about our time using Supercoach and then becoming content creators to get good at knowing football. So that was a very heartwarming episode. We had a good time.
I'm waiting for my invitation onto the Falcon at some point, Clarky.
Oh, don't you worry, baby. It's coming.
Excellent. And then we're going to have the anime version as well.
Yeah. We'll bring you on for the anime episode of all the shows that I'm on.
I saw a comment. I saw one on our live stream. Also had a Roronoa Zoro sort of profile picture, and I identified it. And someone else in the comments "Oh my god, he knows anime as well. I can't love you more." I'm like, a man of culture. What can I say?
You know what? It's so good, and I know that we're wrapping up the show, Damo, but this is one thing, right? There's very specific categories of like sports dweeb.
Yep.
Right, there's like the sports guys who like love like the rough and tumble, like the aesthetic emotional thing that is behind sport. They feel it like in their whole chest, like the ape heart that beats within them, like the jungle drums. And then you've got the stats guys, love the numbers. We would not be living in this Supercoach world without the numbers guys. We love you, we adore you. Then there's like the I like sports but also I am a dweeb in other ways. And these guys, like they're just looking. They're like, I need to find one person who I can identify with. We need to cling together like some little molecules and just we need to hang out. And that's what it's like liking anime and sport. A day walker, if you will.
100%. I love it. I love it. Thanks so much for having me on again, guys. It's been an absolute blast.
If you haven't given us a rating on your listening platform of choice, please do so. It helps new listeners find us. And make sure you check out Supercoach rings at supercoachchampion.com for a Super Bowl style ring for your league winner.
And you can make sure to check out our website, thefootymailbag.net. Head over there. You can get our latest episodes. You can buy our t-shirts. You can find all of our social links. You can also find our Google form for people who don't have social media and you want to ask us a question. You can use that Google form. Like you heard before, you don't even have to leave your name. We don't want to take any of your data. We just want your questions. So why won't you give us the questions? Every week, my wife was asking, where is the questions? When are you going to get the questions? What will the questions be? Will Damo be answering them? And you can get them to us. Use the form. Hit us up on social media, Footy Mailbag on Twitter, Footy Mailbag on Facebook, and the footymailbag.net, the 3 footy mailbags that you need in your life.
Yeah, this is not Nazi Germany. We're not the ones who ask the questions. Please send them across. They'll answer them.
That's it. We opened it up. You can ask us questions about anything. Why does my foot look like that? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I'll tell you.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk next time.
I love you.
Bye.